Okay, let's unpack this. You sent over an enormous stack of sources,
I did. It's quite a bit.
and you want to deep dive into the diversity of Earth's terrestrial life. We're talking how it organizes into these massive biomes, the survival hacks life uses in extremes.
And crucially, how human activity and climate change are basically tearing up the world's ecological map.
It's a journey that goes from, what, the microscopic to the global.
Pretty much. Everything from the internal chemistry of a single leaf to the dynamics of planetary scale climate models. To start, though, we really need to anchor ourselves in the terminology.
Right.
Because your sources make a vital distinction that, it guides everything else we're going to discuss.
And that's the distinction between an ecosystem and a biome.
Exactly.
So if I'm following this, an ecosystem is that small functional unit, like a pond or a patch of forest floor where all the living and non-living things are interacting right there.
Precisely. That's the local view. The biome is the panoramic one. It's the largest practical division of the entire biosphere.
And it's not defined by those 20 local interactions.
No, it's defined by broad, similar climate patterns over a huge geographical area.
So temperature and precipitation.
That's it. A single biome, like a temperate forest, is made up of just countless unique ecosystems.
That makes perfect sense. So looking at the whole planet, what actually determines where these massive biomes sit? It feels like we always come back to the same foundational drivers.
Temperature and precipitation. They are the twin axes that the entire terrestrial biosphere rotates on.
But it's not just the average temperature, is it?
No, that's the key nuance. It's the variability, the daily and seasonal swings. That's what really shapes the kind of plant and animal community that can thrive there.
And those two core drivers are themselves shaped by things like latitude, elevation, ocean currents, wind.
It's all interconnected, and once you can chart those conditions, you can start to predict the biome's productivity.
So net primary productivity, places that are warm and wet, like a tropical wet forest.
Incredibly high. The rate at which plants generate biomass is just off the charts.
And on the flip side, the really tough spots. Extreme cold or, intense water scarcity, like deserts or the tundra.
Exceptionally low primary productivity. The whole spectrum of life, from explosive growth to just slow, grudging survival, it's all determined by the availability of energy and water.
Okay, so let's do a quick tour of the planet. Let's map out the 8 major terrestrial biomes, just to see what makes each one tick. We can start right on the equator with the tropical wet forest, the rainforest.
The defining word here is stability. You've got high temperatures, usually 20 to 34 Celsius, and constant sun, 11 to 12 hours a day.
Which means year-round, non-stop growth.
Exactly. And that leads to the highest species diversity on Earth and that famous vertical layering. The canopy, the understory, and the dark forest floor.
I can almost feel the humidity. I noted this one statistic from the sources that was just mind-blowing.
What was that?
That even the driest month in a tropical wet forest often gets more rain than some other biomes see in an entire year.
Yeah. It's a powerful indicator of just how constant that moisture is.
Okay, moving out a bit from the equator, we hit the savannas.
The tropical grasslands. Scattered trees, huge parts of Africa, Australia, South America, still hot, maybe 24 to 29 degrees Celsius.
But the key difference is a long, brutal, dry season.
A life-threatening dry season. And because of that, fire becomes a totally natural, necessary force.
The plants are built to burn.
They are. Their deep root systems let them survive those intense, regular fires and just re-sprout. If you try to suppress those fires, the whole environment changes.
It stops being a savanna.
Right. It slowly converts into a denser scrub or forest that the natural grasses just can't compete with.
Let's jump up to the mid-latitudes, the temperate forests. This is, Eastern North America, Western Europe, places defined by 4 distinct seasons.
And dramatic temperature swings. We're talking from maybe minus 30 all the way up to 30 degrees Celsius, dominated by deciduous trees.
And that annual leaf drop.
Yes.
It's critical, isn't it?
It's everything. That decaying leaf litter creates this thick, organically rich, nutrient-dense topsoil. It's a reliable pulse of nutrients back into the system every single year.
And nearby you have the temperate grasslands, prairies, steppes, hot summers, really cold winters.
And just enough rain for grasses, but not really enough to support a lot of trees.
We always look at what's above ground, but the genius of the grass is what's happening below.
It's all underground. They have these incredibly extensive, deep, fibrous root mats that hold the soil together and help them deal with drought and, again, with fire.
And lastly, in this group, the chaparral or scrub forest.
The Mediterranean climate. All the rain comes in the winter, leaving these brutal, very dry summers.
So everything is adapted to that cycle.
Absolutely. The biome is characterized by dense, tough shrubs that are highly adapted to periodic fires. Some even need fire to reproduce.
Their seeds only open after being scorched.
It's called serotiny, a very clever survival mechanism.
So that quick tour brings us to the extremes, the taiga and the tundra, which are all about the cold. But before we freeze, let's go back to the fire. Let's focus on the most ingenious survival artists on the planet. Desert plants.
Okay, so we're talking at the subtropical deserts, located roughly 15 to 30 degrees north and south, and the sheer temperature fluctuation is just shocking.
I saw the numbers. Soil temps can hit 60 degrees Celsius.
Or more, and then plummet to near freezing at night. And the rain is not just low, it's desperately unpredictable.
It's a masterclass in adaptation, whether you're looking at a place like Saguaro National Park or the really desolate rocky desert of Boa Vista. Survival here is built on 3 pillars.
Physiological, morphological, and behavioral adaptation.
Let's start with the first one. Physiological, the internal chemistry.
Right, and when people think desert plants, they usually think of the most famous trick in the book, CAM photosynthesis. Crassulacean Acid Metabolism.
Used by succulents, cacti, agaves.
Yep. So if you were to explain the genius of CAM, what's the simple version?
You're basically installing a biological nighttime air conditioner.
That's a great way to put it. Standard plants open their little pores, their stomata, during the day to get CO2, but they lose a ton of water doing that in the sun.
So CAM plants flip the script.
They flip the script. They've evolved to open their stomata only at night.
When it's cooler and more humid, so they lose way less water.
Exactly. They take in the CO2 at night, store it as organic acids, and then during the day, with the stomata sealed tight, they break down those acids to do photosynthesis. It's a time shift strategy.
It's brilliant. And there's another trick, C4 photosynthesis. That's a spatial separation, right?
Correct. Instead of separating the process by time, day versus night, C4 separates it by location within the leaf. It's just another way to boost water use efficiency in high heat and intense light.
Okay, pillar 2 is morphological adaptation, the structural engineering of the plant.
Think of the ocotillo plant, which reduces its leaves to tiny little spines or scales.
Minimizing surface area.
Drastically, it cuts down on transpiration. And then you have the root systems, which are deployed in 2 totally different ways.
As both offense and defense.
On offense, you get these extensive, shallow roots to just instantly soak up any dew or a quick rain shower. On defense, you get plants like the mesquite tree, which sends down these incredibly deep tap roots.
How deep are we talking?
Sometimes 50 feet or more, tapping into groundwater that other plants can't even dream of reaching.
And we also see surface defenses, right? Like hairy leaves on desert sunflowers.
Yeah, that's not just for texture. That hair reflects sunlight and creates this little microclimate right at the leaf surface to slow down evaporation.
Which brings us to the third pillar, behavioral adaptation. This is all about timing.
And patience. Desert annuals have phenomenal patience with their seeds.
They just wait.
For years, sometimes. Their seeds will only germinate when they sense that enough sustained rainfall has occurred. Not just a drizzle, but enough to let them complete their entire life cycle really, really fast.
Maximizing their chances in that tiny window of opportunity.
And then other plants just quit. They use deciduousness, shedding their leaves during the worst heat and drought. They just shut down and wait for better times.
That resilience is incredible. But now let's make that journey north. From the desert fire to extreme cold. We'll start with the taiga, the boreal forest, it's the world's largest land biome, right?
By far. It's this massive belt across Canada, Russia, and Northern Europe, defined by those long, cold, dry winters and short, cool summers.
And dominated by evergreen conifers.
Yeah.
Spruce, pine, fir.
And they have their own set of brilliant tactics. For evergreens, it's all about saving nitrogen.
Because growing new leaves every year takes a huge amount of energy and nitrogen.
Right. By keeping their nitrogen-rich needles, they save all that energy. Plus, the needles warm up faster, so they can start photosynthesizing way earlier in the spring than a deciduous tree could.
And they need to because the soil isn't great.
Not at all. It's acidic and poor in nutrients. But what the taiga soil does offer is an immense global service, carbon storage.
A huge carbon sink. The sources said the taiga stores more carbon than the world's temperate and tropical forests combined.
That's right. Mostly trapped in deep, slow-moving wetlands and peatland under the trees.
And then north of the taiga, we hit the Arctic tundra. Its defining feature is one thing, permafrost.
The layer of soil that stays frozen for at least 2 years straight.
And the consequences of that frozen layer are just profound for life.
Oh, absolutely. Permafrost is a physical barrier, so you can't get deep roots. That's why you only see low-growing shrubs and grasses.
But more importantly, it slows down decay.
It basically stops it. If organic matter can't decay, nutrients can't get released back into the soil. So you end up with very low nutrient availability and therefore very low productivity.
So we've mapped out these incredibly complex climate-driven systems, but now we have to face the modern reality. We are in the Anthropocene.
And our sources introduce this idea of anthropogenic biomes or anthromes, biomes shaped by us.
Human influence has been around for thousands of years, but the sources stress that it's different now.
The scale and the speed are different. The majority of the terrestrial biosphere has only been intensely transformed, creating totally new ecological processes in just the last century.
That's astonishing, that our actions in the last 100 years have changed the planet's physical structure that fast. So what do the climate models predict is next?
Well, scientists use systems like the Köppen-Geiger bioclimate classification in the latest CMIP6 climate models to project these shifts. And what's really fascinating is how much the different models agree.
And the consensus trend is grim. A major shift almost exclusively from colder, wetter bioclimates to hotter, drier ones.
Correct. Warming and desertification are the dominant global processes, and the models put a terrifyingly precise number on this.
This is the statistic that really stood out to me. Between 1 and 3 Kelvin of global warming.
Roughly 12% of the global land area experiences a significant bioclimatic change per 1 Kelvin increase in global mean temperature.
Let's make that number concrete. What does 12% of global land area actually mean?
It means over 17.5 million square kilometers of land per degree of warming sees its climate classification completely change. The biome that's there now will no longer be climatically viable.
That's just immense. It really drives home the policy debate. The sources pointed out the choice between stabilizing at 1.5 K versus 2 K of warming.
That half-degree difference represents saving over 7 million square kilometers of land from major bioclimatic upheaval. It really shows what tenths of a degree actually mean in the real world.
Let's zoom back in on the taiga, because it presents this really strange, counterintuitive paradox with warming. It's already seeing huge temperature spikes.
Especially warmer winters. And that's leading to massive insect pest outbreaks like the spruce bark beetle, which are just devastating forests.
And researchers see 2 major tipping points for the taiga. The southern edge could turn into grassland.
And the northern edge could expand into the Arctic tundra as the permafrost thaws.
But the net global climate effect of these shifts is the paradoxical part, and it's because of something called the albedo effect. Why would the taiga expanding north actually increase global warming?
It boils down to color. Think about wearing a white shirt versus a black shirt on a sunny day. Albedo is just reflectivity.
Okay.
Snow-covered tundra is bright white. It has a high albedo, so it reflects a ton of solar radiation back into space, which keeps the planet cooler.
I see. And the dark green coniferous forest canopy.
It's the black shirt. It has a low albedo. It absorbs more heat. So when the taiga expands north, the dark trees replace that highly reflective snow cover.
So even though the new trees are sequestering carbon,
The change in surface color absorbs so much more heat that the net result is actually a warming effect globally. They estimate it at around 0.14 degrees Celsius.
so tree growth can be bad for warming in that specific context. And conversely, the die-off of the southern taiga.
That conversion to grasslands, it actually results in slight net cooling effect because the exposed ground is less absorbent than the dense forest canopy was.
What a complex system. And the sources suggest these tipping points could begin much earlier than we thought.
Right. While they might not be fully unstoppable until around 4 degrees of warming, there's a possibility they could start as low as 1.5 degrees. That's why they're being watched so intensely.
So we've gone from the incredible time-honed resilience of life, like the engineering marvel of CAM photosynthesis, to the brutal quantified speed of modern change, a 12% land area change per degree of warming.
It really puts the timeline we're facing into perspective.
It does, and it forces you to think about the wisdom that's already embedded in nature. Leaves you with this one last thought.
What's that?
Given the incredible sophistication of how desert plants survive extreme heat and aridity, how might we translate those insights? How do we use that knowledge to engineer the drought-resistant crops or the hyper-efficient water management systems we will desperately need for the newly arid regions of our own world?
Yeah.
That feels like the real challenge.